Hello everyone. I have been watching a lot of videos here on YouTube about fantasy map making, and I have found that I am running out of those videos to watch. I think I watched pretty much everything there is to watch on YouTube on that topic, at least the ones that are coming up when I search map making. And I decided to record my own video because I have made a map that you can see in front of you. So I'll tell you the reason why I made this map and the technical details on how I did it. Maybe it will be interesting or useful to you. Right, so for my reasons, I started with a desire to create a Conlang, so constructed language, and I was watching this video by Àrnûneþe about Conlang speedruns, this idea of speedrunning the creation of a Conlang. And I started with that and then worked for I think about half a year on developing my Conlang. And one of the things that I used in order to develop it was writing a big body of text, because I thought that in order to know the kind of drawbacks or the difficulties with the language, you need to actually use it and not just translate some quotes, but to actually write a piece of literature. And usually the first pieces of literature that we have for natural languages are epic poems. So think of the Epos of Gilgamesh or Beowulf or whatever. Right, so I decided to write such a piece, and soon I discovered that I needed a map in order to understand or have a clearer idea about where the protagonist was going, how much time it took, etc., etc. So I realized that I needed a map. On top of that, I wanted the map to be included in the little booklet, to be an essential part of it. So I started working on the map, which brings me to this giant folder with a lot of stuff in it. So initially I drew this map. I took a pencil and a regular sheet of printer paper, and I watched a lot of videos by other YouTubers such as MapCrow, Maps by Owen, and JP Covert, of course. And I took a lot of inspiration from them and drew this map. So just a continent, an island, whatever you want to call it, with some forests and important locations and where the story happens, and some mountains as well. And in nature, I think the map is kind of Tolkien-esque, which I think most fantasy maps nowadays are Tolkien-esque. But you can see that it's very much following the pattern. You have the mountains, which are upside-down V-shapes, shaded on one side. You have forests, which are either just circles with a line underneath, or triangles with a line underneath, and some simple illustration of the places as well. But you can also see that, especially looking at the triangles, they look like they have been drawn by a drunk child. But overall, you get the idea of the map. Right? That was what I was going for. So I scanned it, cleaned it a little bit in GIMP, which is a free graphics program that you can use as well. And I got this map in the book, right? It's small, it doesn't have a lot of details, but for a book of that size, which is A6, right? So the booklet was printed on A4, it was cut in half and folded in half, so it's A6. For that size it works. If you had more details it would look bad, I think, in that size. But I wanted to have a map also like externally, so the size of this piece of paper. So I decided to make a digital version of that map, not just to clean it, but to kind of redraw it digitally. So I opened my tablet, and this app is Sketchbook. It was free when I got it, I think it still is free, and I created a canvas of, I think, 6,000 pixels along the longer edge, and you can get a nice level of details. It also enabled me to like label the rivers and forests and all the small things. Also, I've been working on that map quite a lot. You can see the name has changed, the smaller kind of geographical details have changed. So on the initial map you can see that a river splits into two, whereas here it's fixed because rivers don't usually split. So yeah, this map was much neater, so I printed it and got this map, which is nice. So the idea was to make it kind of look like an old piece of paper. It was soaked in tea, distressed a little, and you can receive it in a book like that. Right, so the reader would open it, they would have the map inside the book, so it's impossible to kind of lose a map that's sewn inside the book. And you would also have the bigger and more detailed and neater version of the map that you can actually use to follow the travels or to hang on your wall or do whatever you want with it. Right, so that was the end product, and I was fairly happy with it. But then I wanted to print it on a bigger scale, which luckily I made it 6,000 pixels wide, so I could. And initially I printed it on A3. Actually, I had to make the file smaller, I had to compress it, because the printing company asked me to. They had troubles opening the file. It's not a big company, it's just a woman behind a laptop with a bunch of printers in an office. So I got this map. It's A3, so it's a big map, well, big-ish, and it's detailed, it's crisp, and it looks digital, and that was my problem with it. So it looks digital, it doesn't look hand-drawn, obviously. The lines are too uniform, and actually if you look closely, I'm not sure it would be possible to see in a video, but in real life, if you look closely with your naked eye, you can see the dots. Obviously the printer uses dots to print images, and you can see the individual dots, especially on the kind of smaller, thinner lines. And this map, I actually increased the thickness of all lines because otherwise the map looked kind of gray or like too light. It was too light. But even though I increased the thickness, still you can see the individual dots. I didn't really like it. I didn't enjoy that look. So from that map, I went to this map and this look. And in my opinion, first of all, this map looks older than this one. It looks kind of, it's easier to believe that this was drawn by a hand, not printed, because the ink bleeds. So the difference, they are both soaked in coffee. The difference is this map was printed on a black and white printer, which I believe uses powdered ink, and this one was printed on a color printer with just black ink, which is, I think, inkjet. Correct me if I'm wrong on the technical details, but this ink bleeds, that's the point. It was printed on a colored printer with black ink. And it was just a happy accident, because when the lady printed this map, it had some lines, like you can still see them, and here as well, like some from the roller, it kind of duplicated some of the lines, which shouldn't happen. So I said that I wanted a cleaner version, and she produced the cleanest version possible by printing it on the same paper, but on a different printer, the colored printer. It was super clean. It was in all the other sense, it was the same level of details as this one. But when you submerge it into water or coffee, in my case, the ink bleeds and it creates this nice kind of effect, and it removes all the dots. So not removes, but blends them together. So it looks like it was drawn by just like dipping a pen into ink, and then maybe at some point it got some water damage. So I like this look a lot more. It meant that, like by comparison, you can kind of fold this map and you see just white or kind of creamy paper. But if you fold this one, you can see that the ink bled to the other side, which in my opinion it looks like kind of waxed paper. It gives off this waxed paper vibe, which I like. I didn't expect it, but it's a cool effect, I think. Suddenly it looks waxed. Yeah, so that's the technicality of it. That's how I made the map. So if you want to repeat this process or make your own map in a similar way, the two pieces of advice would be to, first of all, from the very beginning, use a big canvas, which I'm glad I did. And the second one is, if you want your map to have that kind of look that you can see on your screen, print it on a inkjet, or like usually that would be just a color printer with black ink only, and just submerge it in water. I'll say that it may kind of ruin the piece in a sense that you get like bleeding marks going the way the water goes. Sometimes it doesn't look nice, so you might want to experiment with that and print a couple of copies, but that's the kind of look you might expect from that. So if you have your own maps, or you're planning to make a map and you got inspired, I encourage you to record a video about them, maybe about the making of the maps, or the different things that you have on your maps, like different places and what happened in them, in your stories, in your worlds. I feel the severe lack of the videos on that topic. It seems like people kind of have stopped posting videos about that. I believe JP Covered hasn't posted a world map, fantasy map video in a while, and other people as well. There are some kind of dungeon maps floating around, but as a kind of world map or a region map, I think the only place to go now is Reddit. But I think it's kind of atmospheric to watch videos with aged paper and fantasy landscapes and people talking about that. So thank you for watching. I hope the video was interesting or helpful, or at least pleasant. And yeah, goodbye.